Hi, everybody. Welcome to PodQuest.
Hey.
It is episode 551, and I am Chris. With me is Walnut, and that whole thing was thrown off because we talked before it.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
Yeah, who cares? I got the important info out. It is Wednesday, March 5th, 2025. It's rainy and miserable out today.
It's rough. It's windy as hell. Like, I just keep hearing the wind hitting my house. It's woof, woof. It's crazy.
Yeah. Driving home was a fucking experience coming over like the bridge and stuff.
Oh, yeah, I can't imagine.
But we're here. We have things, kind of. Richie, you played 7,000 hours of Monster Hunter.
Not 7,000, but close.
Yeah. But we're just going to get into it. What's on the agenda?
On the agenda, we all, and by we all, just me and Cobb, and Drew probably did too, should have watched Children of Men, the movie that came out in the mid-2000s, with Clive Owen, and I don't remember anybody else's names.
Julianne Moore?
Yeah.
Michael Caine?
Michael Caine, right, yeah. I, like Cobb said, played Monster Hunter Wilds, and I've got a lot to talk about and say about it. And Cobb, you read Horus Rising, which we kind of teased last week because you weren't here.
All right, because that was on the agenda last week, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we teased it. I don't remember.
I tried to actually. I tried to catch up on Cobra Kai. I was going to at least do like part 2 of this final season, and then try and do part 3 for next week. But then the last 2 days, I managed to watch 2 whole episodes because work has been nuts.
I get that.
They were good episodes, though. I like where that show's going. Mostly.
I pretty much watched a bunch of shows today. I watched the movie today, and I watched a couple of other shows today during work today because it's been a little slow for us. So it's been nice to be able to chill out a bit.
Yeah, it's nice to just like do that once in a while.
Yeah,
but we did. We watched a movie.
Yeah, we watched Children of Men, which you're right. It is quite timely.
And depressing.
Basis of the movie is it has been roughly 18 years since a child was born. It is the year 2027, and the world has gone to shit. And it takes place in London, or in England, not necessarily London, but in England. And Clive Owen's character is just a guy, basically, who used to be a former activist and now is just living out his days until he dies. He's like given up. And he ends up in a scenario where he basically has to help a woman who's the first person to get pregnant in 18 years get out of the country. And she was a refugee from Africa. Somewhere in the continent of Africa. The whole country's like deporting refugees and putting them in terrible camps, very similar to what's going on right now with ICE in the United States. And it is, the whole story. It's a really good story and a really great movie, in my opinion. But you're right, it is incredibly depressing.
Yeah, and it's definitely one of those like the movie doesn't necessarily like straight come out and tell you some of the stuff, but like there's like newsreels and stuff like that near the beginning where like they basically tell you like the UK is one of the only places left standing, which is why they have so many people trying to emigrate. Thank you. Into the country, and they're creating them. They're turning them into prisoners and putting them in fucking literal cages.
Yeah, putting them in cages. Near the end of the movie, you see like an actual refugee camp, which is just a hellhole. Like it's basically there's no like actual not policing, but like there's no like once you get thrown in there, you just got to fend for yourself kind of thing. And like some people are just dicks and are going to be terrible to you, and some people are going to actually help you, and it's like really dependent on how things go, and it's very poor and terrible conditions. And it's just like, you're right. Like I said, you were right. It's very relevant to right now. Like y'all should watch this damn movie.
Not everything, but like you see enough bits and pieces in there, and you're like, oh, wait, like obviously the like no children in the last 20 years is like fictitious in this case. Yeah. But so much else in that movie was just like, oh no, that's literally what they're trying to do right now.
The movie starts with the announcement of the death of the youngest person in the world, who was 18 years and like 18 and a half years old or something like that. I didn't catch his full age because they said like everything down to the seconds, how old he was. And then they announced like the next youngest person is like 2 weeks older than he was. And then it's Clive Owen going into a coffee shop, them announcing the death on a TV screen, and as he leaves the coffee shop, it explodes. Just inexplicably explodes.
Oh, right. I forgot that even happened because it's like it's almost not talked about again after that.
Yeah, like that's a main focus of like the very beginning of the movie is he almost dies, and everyone at work is crying about the youngest kid in the world, and he's just like, that's why like he shouldn't have gone to work that day. He was almost in a freaking explosion. But that's like he leaves, and then that's when you meet Michael Caine, and they go get high and talk about life and whatnot over at his place. And like the movie starts with like a lighter tone, and then it ramps and it just keeps going up. I absolutely love the film style, how it's like kind of war. It's filmed like it's like war documentary style, or like war reporter is more so what I'm trying to think. Like the shaky camera, the like closing in on things.
It's very low to them too. Like you're not getting a lot of like sweeping shots or anything like that. Like it's always kind of like right behind the people we're following.
Yeah, very first person to a sense. Like it's not first person. You're not running around as somebody helping them, but it feels like you are part of it, which was done really well. Like, and I think there's a good number of movies in this era that do stuff like this. Like,
you even had like the found footage, like Cloverfield and stuff like that. Of the
Cloverfield, District 9, which was another movie I was gonna suggest last time, is very similar. I thought it was fantastic. I love that movie, but it has that similar feel to that camera style and that like you're in it situation. Except I think that one out of most do cut away from the main character. That one, unlike Children of Men, do cut away from the main characters, and that's the thing. Like the whole movie, like Clive Owen and what is Clive Owen's character's name?
Oh, I do not remember.
I feel like it's like Ben or something like that. Hold on, let
Theo?
me pull it up. Theo, yeah, Theo and Kia. I believe
they just call her Key most of the movie.
Key, which is what her name.
Key.
Which Key was played by Claire Hope Ashity. Yeah, so Theo and Key, they are on screen. They are pretty much never not on screen. Specifically, Theo is pretty much never not on screen. It does not pan away from him. It does not go away from him. This whole movie is in his perspective.
Oh, you know what? I didn't notice that, but yeah, I think maybe only once or twice did they ever not show him directly. Like,
yeah, like there's some setting shots for like when you get to Michael Caine's house, or like as they're pulling into the refugee camp, but like he is technically in one way or another always on or within the camera view. It doesn't often cut away from, like, it never cut away from him to Chwetel, to Luke, who's, I didn't even realize it was Chwetel Edgefort's, that was him. I think I'm pronouncing his name right. Chwetel Edgefort. I guess I don't remember how to pronounce his name.
Yeah, I honestly don't know.
But I didn't realize that was him. But like, as far as I can remember, it never cut away to him to find out what he was doing. Like at one point, like they were chasing after him, and it cut away to show them. Like, no, it didn't even cut away to show them stopping. The camera was in the vehicle, and you see them stop chasing him, turn around, and run back to their cars.
Yeah,
it was always, Clive Owen was always within an earshot of the camera. And that's like, it's from his perspective, which is just, it's a really, really cool way they did that.
Yeah, I even just some of like near the end of the movie, there is a God, what's it called? Splatter effect on the screen. Mm-hmm. So like, when they're running through kind of like the war zone, at some point somebody gets like shot or clipped or something.
I think
and, like, blood hits the screen, and it stays there for a while.
I don't know, because I don't remember. I think the blood is supposed to be Theo's blood.
It might be.
I think
It's
that's
just
supposed to be when he gets shot.
it's just his shot was like in the gut, which makes like
Yeah.
the blood splatter a little weirder.
A little
and I feel
weird.
like right around the time that it hits the screen, like somebody gets shot near him too.
Yeah. But like you don't know he gets shot. That's the weird. Like I don't remember like him reacting or you just seeing him get shot at any point in that final sequence. So like I think maybe that's supposed to be part of it. But who knows?
Okay. Yeah,
I don't know.
there's even just like the kind of the unexpected ending, let's call it. Like
Mhm.
you really don't know if he did survive or if like he did die right there. Like he's unconscious at the end, but like that doesn't necessarily mean that he's dead.
It keeps it open. And after watching this, I remembered, I realized, I was like, man, the 2000s was a great era for movies. And I was thinking about the Book of Eli, which is at the end, it's 2010. So, like, I guess it's not the 2000s, but maybe we could count it as 2000s. But it made me think of, like, the Book of Eli, which is such a good movie as well. And there's a lot of movies like that. I think The Road is also something that I don't know. Did I see The Road? I think I've seen The Road.
Like the Cormac McCarthy?
With Aragorn. Yeah. It has Viggo Mortensen and it's a post-apocalyptic movie where it's him and his son.
Okay, yeah. That movie is based on the book.
On a book
by Cormac McCarthy.
Yeah. Because that was also like in that it was 2009.
I never saw that one, but I did see Book of Eli, and that was a good movie.
It was. Yeah, I love the movie. I really enjoy this movie. And the themes.
Now, had you seen it before, or was this your first time?
I had seen it before so long ago that I got it on DVD from Netflix.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that's how long ago. Like that the Book of Eli and The Road, all three of these movies I had seen through DVD on Netflix. Yeah, kids, remember that? Netflix used to send out DVDs and Blu-rays.
Nice. Like that was a time. Man, DVDs from Netflix. Or even Blockbuster.
Yeah. I actually
remember when Blockbuster started doing the online rentals like Netflix, but they had if you returned them to the store, you could get an in-store rental like right away.
I didn't know that. I know Vogel used to do the Blockbuster mail delivery, the Blockbuster delivered videos and whatnot, or DVDs when he lived at our house when we lived at our parents. And like he somehow found a way to like just keep getting free movies, and he almost never returned them.
So
something like that.
He returned them. He ripped them. So he was never watching them. He was getting them and then ripping them and returning them. Because that was the thing. Blockbuster had the thing where similar setup to Netflix. It was like 2 or 3 movies at a time. And if you took them back to a Blockbuster store, you could also rent like a movie there. And while you were waiting for your next ones to show up from like the rental service or something along those lines, like it was a way to like keep getting movies like and never have to wait for like them to like get shipped back.
Okay.
So he just had like an ever looping. Yeah.
Yeah, he just was always getting like literally like every 2 or 3 days he was getting another movie, and he's getting like hundreds of movies. It was wild back then. But yeah, it was I remember those days back when Blockbuster was a thing.
I think did you by chance this is a little off topic. Did you watch the Netflix show about Blockbuster?
Oh, like the comedy show about the last Blockbuster?
Yeah, with Randall Park and Santiago from Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yes, I thought that show was great. Like it was a little silly. It was a little over the top of a workplace comedy, but I think by the end of it, it had legs and could have kept going. But like Blockbuster, we don't see it anymore.
Yeah.
I think I don't know if actually the Blockbuster's fully shut down yet.
I think there's still like that one in like Oregon, maybe. But we're not here to talk about Blockbuster. We're just supposed to talk about Children of Men.
Apparently, according to Google AI, Blockbuster is still open in Bend, Oregon. Okay,
I thought it was Bend, but then at the same time, I was like, wait, Bend is also where that Sony studio is? Am I just thinking Bend because of that?
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, I enjoyed Children of Men, but like, I enjoyed it, but I did not like watching it.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense.
I mean, I don't. You might have to explain it more to me. Like, I kind of get what you're saying. Like, you thought it was a good movie, but like, you don't want to watch it again, kind of thing. Like,
that is mostly it. Like, it was a good movie. I just don't think I ever need to watch it again because, like, especially like with the way the world is right now, like, it is just such a fucking bummer.
Yeah. No, I get that, and like, I mean, there was a lot. I knew the basic gist of the movie, and like, I'd seen it before 10 years ago. Like, I forgot that he dies or potentially dies, and I thought there was a scene where they show the Human Project. Like, I thought there was a scene on the boat, on the actual boat, not on the Tomorrow. But I thought, like, at the end of it, you see the Human Project. So, like, that even raises a question of whether or not everything is legit, and is the Human Project still a real thing? Like, it still keeps the movie open a bit.
Yeah, which is kind of cool, because it does just, like, it ends with them on that little, like, rowboat.
Yeah, and, like, you get the Tomorrow, but is the Tomorrow just a fishing boat? Like, or is it actually what they say it was? A hospital boat made to look like a fishing boat.
Oh.
What?
I hadn't thought about that, really.
Yeah. Is it actually... like, no one knows if the Human Project is real. Then that was a lot of, like... That was some of the themes from the earlier on in the movie. It's like, Michael Caine mentions, the joke... He wants to do a joke about the Human Project, and Clive Owen's just like, that thing's not real. And he's like, I'm just trying to make a joke. Come on now. And, like, they hear about it, and it's like, the Human Project is a myth. And so at the end of the movie, like, yes, someone was in contact with someone, and through the mirror system, quote, the mirror system, got to Julianne Moore and said, hey, this ship can get the girl to the Human Project. The ship is called the Tomorrow. But, like, is that all legit? Is it legit, or did this ship just hear that there was finally a pregnant person and they want to hold her hostage?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's...
Because, like, there was already one group trying to do it. Who's to say there's not another?
Exactly. I also have to just make mention when he drives into the rich part of London, and they have fucking a zebra, and I don't know, there's some other exotic animal, and he gets to his cousin's apartment, and he's just got... Is that the statue of David in his friggin' living room?
Yeah, I think that's what that was.
Yeah. And I was just like, this is so current day. It's ridiculous. I hate it. I love it, but I hate it.
Yeah, it's weird too, like seeing how just, like, fucked most of the world is, but they still have, like, advanced technology. Because, like, you figure that the movie was from 2006, but it was taking place in 2027. And, like, most of the technology is, honestly, it's probably more realistic than you'd expect. Like,
yeah,
like some of, like, the screens and stuff that they're doing, like, it's not 100% what it is now, but, like, I feel like they were pretty on track for it, considering that movie came out before the iPhone existed.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, like, good movie. I'm glad I saw it.
Yeah.
Don't want to watch it again.
give it 10 years, and maybe when, hopefully, in 10 years the world isn't gone to shit, and maybe you'll actually, like, enjoy it more. And you'll be able to watch it as a nostalgia. Remember when this was what the world was?
You know, probably still don't want to do it at that point. Still too soon. Maybe 20 years.
Maybe.
20 years, maybe.
Yeah, I can see that. Look, the movie came out in 2006, so it's quite possibly it could have been close to 20 years since I've seen it.
Yeah, because, I mean, Netflix was doing the DVD rentals around that time.
Yeah, like, I mean, I didn't get a debit card till 2007. So, like, I probably didn't get my own Netflix account till, like, 2008, 2009. It is possible that I might have even seen it from a Blockbuster rental or something, too. Like, I know I've seen the movie before. I just don't know when. So, it could have been close to 20 years since I've seen that. 15, 20 years, something like that.
Can you give me 1 second? It looks like our food, like, Erica ordered food, and I don't think she realized it because the dogs didn't bark.
Yep.
Sorry. I could hear her downstairs, like, laughing at something on her phone, and the door hadn't opened, so I didn't want, like, it's raining still.
Yeah.
But any last things you want to say about Children of Men?
No. I'm interested to get Drew's take on it next week.
Yeah, remember to bring that up. And fuck, I guess it's my pick, and I was just
It's
gonna make
your
Drew pick. 2000s movies, right?
Yes.
All right. Hang on
So
a second.
I'd say we're going double O's to tens. Like you can go as far as December 31st, 2010.
All right, hang on.
Even though 2010 is technically the tens, the odds.
I'm looking real quick at movies. Speak amongst yourselves.
I'm only one self here. I can't really do that.
Where's that movie, motherfucker? I was gonna pick V for Vendetta, but it's not available. So I kind of want to pick something that I think we've mostly seen, but likely have not seen in
I mean, but here's
close
the
to
thing.
20 years.
You're talking about a movie that's close to modern day, and and how you didn't like it because of that, and then you're thinking V for Vendetta.
Yeah, that was
exactly the
legitimately my thinking.
Let's see,
Uh,
I will say I've never seen No Country for Old Men.
I've seen parts of it, and I did not care for it.
Okay,
We're gonna watch 300
300. Oh damn, I haven't seen that movie in a while.
from 2007.
Where's it available?
It's on Peacock.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so the first two. So I looked up 3 movies first. The first one I looked up was Euro Trip because Michelle Trachtenberg just passed away. So
Yeah.
I was gonna be like, oh well, we'll watch that. Like she starred in that movie. Not available anywhere except for rent. Then I looked at V for Vendetta. Not available anywhere except for rent. Then I looked at what was the other one? Sin City. Also not available anywhere except for rent.
Mm-hmm.
And then 300. I googled a list of the 100 best movies of the 2000s, and I only made it to like the high teens before I found 300. So pretty good.
Yeah.
Oh, is that movie available somewhere? This is not for us. This is just I'm just curious if it's available.
I mean, it could be for us.
It's not.
I've also
Sorry.
never seen The Departed.
I saw it and I hated it.
Mm.
It is 3 hours and like boring as shit.
And I don't think I've ever seen There Will Be Blood as well.
Yeah, I realize like I just don't care for Martin Scorsese films for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
They're just not my cup of tea. But anyway, yeah, 300 in 2 weeks.
Okay.
That'll be great.
Sounds good.
Okay, Rich, I'm gonna go ahead and mute myself. Monster Hunter.
Oh boy, guys, I played Monster Hunter for almost 50 hours in the past 5 days. And by God, that game, the pluses. Combat feels amazing. Some of the best combat in a Monster Hunter game. Like, there isn't, and I've only tested, even in the beta I haven't really tested a lot of weapons in the main game. But in the beta, there wasn't really a weapon I didn't like. Like, I thought the longsword was generic and didn't really care for it. But overall, when I play tested weapons in the beta, I thought they all felt good. Monster designs are absolutely fantastic. The roster is good. It's a good roster, but it feels shockingly smaller than expected. I think there's maybe 40 monsters, maybe 45, something like that. There's less than 50 monsters for sure.
It's not very many. Is that
not
normal?
at all. I don't know. I don't remember. Because that's the thing, like these games, like with World and Rise, they slowly roll out more monsters. So the first title update is in April. We believe it's spring, but we believe it's going to be in April. And that's going to be one new monster. If not, I don't know if they've announced more. But generally, I don't think so. I think like these games have always had event quest updates, even when it was on the DS and things like that, that would maybe add more monsters. But I feel like generally maybe 40 to 60 in the base game. So what they used to do is they would release the base game and then they would release like the expansion game before they could release expansions. And so you would have to play through the game twice. Well, no, you could transfer your save over. And that new game would release another 30 plus monsters onto it. But they were all harder. It was G rank, plus all the monsters that were previously in it would have a G rank version. So they would all have that harder version. So it would end up being technically 70 new monsters. Because also you have to remember, generally, not in Wilds, but generally in a lot of games, like take the roster, cut that in half, and that's the low rank roster. And then you get the high rank roster, which is all of low rank plus the additional. So you could argue that there's technically 60. Because low rank is low rank and easier monsters. High rank is high rank. They're harder monsters. So like the roster's good. I don't there's not really a monster that I don't care for. Um the world building, the settings, the scenery, all of the locations you can get to are really cool. They look really nice. Like the overall the overarching the overarching story like is Monster Hunter. And that gets us to a little bit of the downside is the way they did the story in this one really, in my opinion, hurt Monster Hunter, and took me out of the Monster Hunter. What was I saying? How was I putting it before? How did I put it? It didn't feel it. The way they put together the low rank and the story pushed it to be a little too linear. That hurt the Monster Hunter style, because generally these games are you hunt monsters, you make armor to hunt more monsters, make more armor. There's always a pseudo story to each of these games, but like it wasn't until World and Rise where like the story actually really sort of mattered, but like it still doesn't. Again, they're just generic stories, and the generic story is like we have to hunt these monsters because they're gonna harm the ecosystem, and that's our job, is to make sure the ecosystem and the environment stays the way it should be.
Has that always been the like narrative that like you're doing it so that the ecosystem survives, or is that new to this game?
So the basic idea of Monster Hunter and the guild and the hunters are, and so in Monster Hunter there's a guild, and the guild runs the hunters, and the guild is researching and studying the monsters and studying the world and the ecosystems and things like that. The hunters are dispatched to hunt monsters when the monster is a threat to the ecosystem or to like human life and things like that, and to the natural system. So when you play Monster Hunter, especially and more specifically in everything before Wilds, and I'll get to that in a second. When you play Monster Hunter and you go on a quest to hunt a monster, based on the story, you run and you hunt that monster. You literally ever only hunt that monster in actuality once. It's just gameplay loop to cause you to have to fight it multiple times to get the equipment for the randomness of to get the armor. That's the only reason you have to fight these monsters multiple times, is as a gameplay loop. You are actually only ever killing each of these monsters you go to fight once, because there's a quest for it. Somebody's having a problem. This area is having an issue. That area is having an issue. And some of these monsters may mess with the natural ecosystem because they invaded into a new ecosystem. And so you have to be like, all right, well, they're, what's the word?
Invasive?
Invasive, and they don't have any natural predators. So we have to stop them. We have to protect the ecosystem. Like, World, the basic idea of World before Iceborne is you were on an expedition and you were following a giant elder dragon. And the whole thing is you are tracking this giant elder dragon to the new world, which is the area you're in Monster Hunter World, to understand why elder dragons tend to go out there. And then you encounter things like Nergigante, which is an elder dragon that feeds off of elder dragons. And then you start to learn more about the environment and the regions you go to. And then when at one point the Zora Magdaros, which is the giant monster you were tracking, you're able to fend it off, and it goes off and like explodes and dies, and basically becomes a new island, which is where you go in Iceborne. I think that's how it goes. I'm not 100% sure. Or maybe that new island is where you go for the Guiding Lands, which is the end game loop for Sunbreak, or not Sunbreak, for Iceborne. In Rise, it's you are from a town, and there's every so often a, quote, rampage happens where monsters just rampage towards and through this town, and you're trying to uncover the mysteries of the rampage to protect the town and stop the town. And then in you eventually start to learn about a virus that starts to affect. This is when you get into Sunbreak. It's a virus that goes around to the monsters and affects them and makes them rampage, and you have to fight them and uncover the virus that's causing havoc throughout the area, so that like more monsters don't get infected with this virus and cause more damage. And that's when you fight like the final boss in Rise, and then you eventually get to the Primordial Malzeno, which is the final release. And that's just how it is. Like it's always like they're invasive, or they're just cutting into an area. They're causing a supply route to have problems, so you have to kill them just to protect people. That's really the story. In Wilds, though, the story is different. An expedition finds a kid at the edge of a desert of a region that has been known to be uninhabitable. And they find this child, and this area has been quarantined off. No one is allowed to enter it for hundreds of years. They find the child, they rescue him, and like a year or two goes by, and a new commission where you are sent with this child and everyone who found the child out to these lands to help him get back to his people. And you start to uncover the mysteries of what happened in these lands, and where this kid came from, and what his people are about. His people are known as the Keepers, and that these lands tend to have very erratic seasonal cycles, where within the course of a month you'll get three quote seasons, and it's just they name it as like fallow. It's basically fallow, storm, and plenty. Where basically, say you're in the desert area, it's very deserty. There's not a lot of lush plant life or anything like that. Then a storm comes in, and then after the storm, there's tons of resources, and you can go out gathering a lot more. It happens in each region. It's like the water in fallow is all red and covered in and filled with like a poison. Then the storm happens, and at the end of the storm flushes all the poison away, and everything's great and happy. And it's each region has an erratic cycle every couple of days, every couple of weeks. They don't really tell you how often it is, but it's very quick. Like by the end of the storm, everything is lush and beautiful, and it's very fast. And so there's some crazy energy within this region that you go and eventually uncover what this crazy energy is, and you uncover the history of the people that used to live there before, that have basically become the multiple tribes of this region. They were an advanced civilization that basically figured out how to create artificial monsters to use them to defend their homeland. And one of the monsters they created ended up basically destroying them. And the final boss is you fighting and killing that monster that ended up destroying the civilization. Because if you don't destroy that monster, then that monster's going to wreak havoc among the world. And it was kind of, again, it was generic. It was kind of milquetoast. And a lot of the game is just, a lot of the first 12-ish hours it took me to get there is, you start the game, and they're just like, all right, go here, go there, go here, go there, go here, go there. It's very linear. There are some moments where you're like, or at least for me, I felt comfortable being like, all right, let me hunt around a bit and upgrade my armor or something like that. But for the most part, it just was like one right after the other, right after the other, right after the other. And it just, to me, like the way they did the quests where it would be you, your handler, and somebody else with the little kid on your bird mounts walking for half the quest. And then you encounter the monster you're going to encounter, where then your handler looks and is like, the guild authorizes, go fight. And you get out and you go fight and stop the monster because the monster's wreaking some sort of havoc or causing a problem.
Okay.
And so it was just...
I never realized there was actually like any sort of... Like I remember the little tiny bit of world I played that like it kind of like... There wasn't really a narrative, but like the game gave you like a reason for like heading to like that one outpost you were heading to. And yeah. I think like I forget what it was, but I remember that was there. But I don't think I picked up that there was like this whole like, hey, like you're doing good. You're not just slaughtering animals for armor.
Oh yeah, then you don't just. That's the thing. You're not just slaughtering monsters in Monster Hunter. Like it is, there is a reason for your hunts, and there's like a manga that kind of explains it more. And like in the manga, they hunt a monster and they are able to craft the entire armor set from that one monster hunt, because that's canonically what is supposed to happen. Like, it doesn't make sense that you can't get all the parts from a monster when you fight them? Like, why can't I get the wing or the plate or the whatever from this monster that should have these things? It's just, that's just a gameplay loop. It's hunting multiple monsters. And then once you beat that, the game actually rolls credits after the first 12 hours. But there's still more game and more story in a sense to get through. And I felt a little like, this is kind of a little boring or a little lame that this is how they end low rank. Normally they don't end low rank with the credits rolling, but that's like that's the primary story. Now you're just here, you're investigating more of this world. You're trying to understand what these wildlands are.
So when they introduce new animals and like there's like an expansion or DLC or however they do, like they did like the ice thing in World last time and Sunbreak and Rise, does that like add to like the narrative, or is it just like, hey, here's a bunch of new monsters?
It basically creates a new narrative. So at the end of World, you uncover the mysteries of the new world and what's going on. You fight Nergigante, was the end of World? Yeah, the end of World you fought, I can't remember its name, but it was an elder dragon. Xenojiva is what it was called. And it was basically a newborn version of an elder dragon that, if left unchecked, was going to absorb all of the energy of the new world and completely destroy the ecosystem. So you had to kill it, unfortunately. And it was a giant monster that looks kind of like an alien that you have to kill. And when you kill that is the end of World. And then as they introduce new monsters, like in Rise, whenever they introduced a new monster, they would send you on a quest like, hey, this was spotted here, you should go fight it, with the monthly or quarterly rollout. Then when it comes to like Iceborne, they're like, oh, we just found a new location in this world. Let's go explore that and learn about it. And like you find this because some of the monsters are going on a little bit of a frenzy, and there's like like a siren song, like a dragon song that you're hearing be played. You end up following Valkana to the ice area of World, and then you uncover what this siren song was, which ended up being like another monster causing monsters to wreak havoc. And after that, then as they incorporated more monsters like Alatrion, and Safi'jiiva, and what was his name? Fucking Fatalis. They have story bits as to what Alatrion is, what Safi'jiiva is, and what Fatalis is, and why you have to go fight them.
Okay, so it's not just honestly, because like I've never paid attention to the actual like that stuff. I legitimately did just assume it was just like, yeah, no, you've come to a new world and you're just here to kill the monsters.
No, you're not there to just kill the monsters.
You need new swords, and the only way to get new swords is to kill the monsters.
Yeah. No, you're there to defend the researchers. You're there to defend the ecosystem. That is the main thing of a monster hunter, of a guild credited monster hunter, is not to kill all the monsters, is to kill the problem monsters, the ones that are causing havoc. So after the story of Wilds ends, they then bring in a character who was like only in the intro cutscene, and then he comes back, and you basically learn that there's more to uncover about this region, and you start exploring more of the region, and that's where it opens up, where it's like, okay, to get to the next story beat, you need to get 10 ranks in your hunter rank. And getting 10 ranks is just as easy as going out and fighting monsters and running quests. And this is where, like I said, besides Rise earlier, like, you go out into the world, your handler follows you, you find a monster, you can just attack it, and eventually the handler is like, yes, the guild, you like, literally, the quest doesn't start until your handler says the guild authorizes this hunt. And so, like, I'm sure in a way they're justifying, like, you're only seeing these monsters because they're, like, tempered, which means they're battle tempered, which means, like, for the player, like, they hit harder. But these monsters are, like, they're angrier and they're going to attack. Or they're frenzied, which means they're sick and we need to prevent the frenzy from happening. But a lot of the times it's just like, oh, they're just out in the world and I'm going to go hunt them now because they're there. And it, like, there's no real rhyme or reason. So this is, like, the first pseudo the first time in a Monster Hunter game where their end game loop is you're just killing them because they're there. It's not a mission, it's not a quest, it's not somebody having a problem. You just ran out into the world, saw that monster, and decided to fight it, which is just weird.
As you do, right?
But it's like it also makes for a good end game loop because I can just like if there's a couple of monsters that I'm hunting just to get armor parts for or whatever, I can just go out and hunt it. But it's also they added binoculars that you can put on and you can look at the monster and it'll have a little crown if it's a largest or smallest and let you know for me it's like, all right, should I hunt this one or not? As you're tracking the map, which they did really good with the map. I'm just really bad with remembering UI. You can go through all of your map icons and every region is updating actively. It's not like, okay, only the region you're in, monsters are changing. It's every region you can look at and it is actively changing how long, it won't tell you how long a monster's there unless you go to that region and look at its map. But you can go and see a monster and if it has this is a really cool thing that they added, if it has good quest rewards, you can save that as an investigation and you can run it later, which if you run it as an investigation, you can run it up to 3 times. So you could theoretically get 4 hunts, 3 as an investigation, and 1 as when it's actively on the world map. Which is it's a really cool way that they're doing this end game gameplay loop, and overall it works. But the game was really hurt. The Monster Hunter style was really hurt by the way they did the story for the first half of the game, and how much story they did and how much hand holding they did. It hurt it a lot. But there's a lot of quality of life changes that they did to the game that helps cover that over. Because if the story was better, then maybe it wouldn't have hurt it as much. But again, the story was just at one point. So you encounter the big bad Arkveld, which turns out the Arkveld you've been encountering throughout the whole game. Which is the monster that caused the little boy to to be sent away from his people, was a bioengineered artificial life form of an extinct monster that you find out because of its ability to absorb the elements was able to evolve itself into an actual monster. Wow. And at one point, the little boy gets mad at you for having to go hunt this monster that's wreaking havoc on the lands. The little boy's like, but I'm just like him. I don't remember the quote, but there's memes about it where he's just like, you can't hunt this monster because me and the monster are the same. Because he's had only known his tribe and then found out that there's this huge big world outside. And that's what Arkveld only knew, its world, and now it's become a real monster, but it's also a threat to society. And it was just like, kid, I can't listen to you. And that's it. And you end up going and hunting this monster and fighting it. And it was a good fight. It's a really fun fight. There's 2 monsters I can't stand fighting, and they're the bird wyverns, which are they're flying. So there's winged wyverns and then there's bird wyverns. The winged ones are like pseudo dragons. They look like actual wyverns. Which, if you don't know, for anybody who doesn't know, a wyvern is a dragon that only has 2 legs and no hands. Its hands are its wings. It's a winged flying monster. And then there's bird wyverns, which tend to have beaks. They also in world, because technically they are, all of the raptors are bird wyverns because raptors come from birds. But these 2 fight very similarly. And they're just their movements are so quick. They're not quick, but they're constantly just running back and forth are their attacks, and they're just such a pain to fight. But besides them, there's not really many monsters I don't like fighting. And overall, I've enjoyed every bit of this game. I've had a lot of fun playing this game. Their changes to the armor was exactly what I was expecting, that I'm not entirely thrilled about. So now instead of there being just armor skills on armor, there's armor skills on armor, there's weapon skills on weapons. So all offensive skills go on weapons, and all defensive skills go on armor. That's it. You can't put a defensive skill on an armor. You can't put an offensive skill on an armor. Can't put a defensive skill on a weapon. Which the way they have set up some of these more offensive skills, like attack boost or generally just attack boost, but like a lot of these, they're not really useful. So to get max level attack boost, which would be level 5, you would need generally minimum 2 gems, if not more, to get that to level 5. And all you're getting is like a plus 10 to your attack, which isn't much. That's not a lot. Whereas before you were getting like a plus 20 plus X amount of percentage increase. So they really messed, in my opinion, and a few of us who play it, they kind of, in an attempt to make less meta and more broadness with the armor, they have made the meta even tighter with, well, to get the best damage dealing skills, you're generally using this one ability set, or this one skill, which is called Burst, which after 5 hits, it increases the damage you do. And it stays on you until 5 seconds pass since your last hit. So if you can get level 5 Burst and get 1 or 2 or 4 parts from another monster onto you, you can get an enhanced version of that burst, which does even more damage. And that's the only way to get any really adequate amount of damage in the game. Other than that, it's like you're hoping you get some good gem slots and skill slots. But yeah, it's they kind of hurt the game when it comes to its meta.
Yeah, I was like, obviously, like I don't follow the game really. So other than like what you talk about on here, I don't know a ton. But even like some of the podcasts I listen to, like they have talked about like, yeah, like they've changed some stuff, and we're not sure how we feel about it.
So like it's cool that like our like weapons will have skills. So for instance, one of the weapons I'm using is Gun Lance, which is you have a giant shield and you have a lance that has a gun on it. And you poke and then you can swing your lance and you can be Squall but with a lance. It has the ability Offensive Guard on it, which is really cool. If you block and you do a well-timed block, you get a boost to your attack damage. And the weapon I primarily use has level 3 Offensive Guard. Plus, like, it might have a level in something else. I can't remember. So I have a greater boost after a block. That's a great one. But then scrolling through the weapons, it's like, oh, this weapon has attack 1. Well, that's dumb. So, like, why not just give it 2 more attack points and give it a different skill? Like, a weapon that naturally has attack on it is a wasted weapon, in my opinion. Because, like, it doesn't make sense to me. Because also, attack 1 is a +2 to your damage rating. So, that just means you're doing 0.2 more damage, really. The basic
number... It doesn't seem like much.
It's not. Because, like, what we've kind of figured is, say you have a weapon whose base attack damage, raw attack damage, is 150, divide it by 10. Just take out the 0. You're doing 15 damage per hit, give or take. And like, how much damage can like the monsters usually take? A lot. Like, I don't know their health pool. But they like in low. I don't know. I don't know their health pool. I haven't really looked into monsters' health pool. But they have thousands of health. Like, it's doing 21 points of damage. Like my general combo with the Gun Lance, I can get. Let's see. I was doing 6 hits of 20 apiece, and that happens twice. Plus my stake that ticks for 3 damage every time it ticks. Plus my actual hits, which we're doing probably 20 or 30. Like, my general combo would probably do about 500 damage, and it would still take me about 5 minutes to kill a monster, give or take. We found the easiest way to like get parts to help us grind out for certain items we need to upgrade armors. Like, we can kill a monster within, say, 2.5 minutes. 2 minutes and 20. I think our lowest time was 2 minutes and 10 seconds that we could kill this monster, and we're all using like weapons of an element that have a incredibly high element rating of an element that this monster is weak to, and we're doing 6, 7, 800 damage per run, and it's still taking us 2 minutes, like per combo burst, and it's just constantly just doing the combos, and it's still taking us 2.5 minutes. Like, these monsters have high health pool, and to boost my attack 1 with a +2, which basically turns if it's 120 to 122, I'm doing 12.2 damage. And the highest an attack 5 can get me is 10% plus like 5 or something like that. Which that gives me what? 10% of 100 is 10, right?
Yes.
So you're getting me 15 more attack damage. So my 120 is turning into 135, so I'm doing 1.5 more damage per hit. Which, in the long run, like, yeah, that can add up, but over, like, generally, it's just not bad. Or it's not good.
Yeah, no, honestly, that just sounds kind of frustrating.
Yeah, and so when I get a weapon, so it is. I'm even way higher. I was using Monster Hunter Wilds or World and Rise numbers. Attack boost level 5, a bonus of 9 damage plus 4% increase on your damage. So you're adding with, let's say you have a 200 damage weapon, you're adding 9 plus 8, 17 damage to your 200 damage weapon. That's nothing. That's chump change. Whereas like Monster Hunter World attack boost was a 21 increase to your attack at the max level, plus an increase of 5% to your critical rating. So everyone would only go to, generally when I built an armor around to level 4, where that's when you start getting that increase to crit rating at that 5% increase. So that would give me a plus 12, plus 5% increase. That's more in the meta, because that gets me that increased critical chance, which does, I think critical does 150% damage or something like that. So like that makes that more worthwhile. But for this, it's 4% plus 9. That gets you nowhere. It gets you nowhere. And to find a weapon that has an attack booster on it, it's like, well, no, I'm just not going to use that weapon because I could find a weapon that has better skills on it. The insect glaive I have or the insect glaive I used throughout it had like, what did it have? It had like power prolonger, which made the bar I have to fill up to use the insect glaive last longer when it was filled. So it was like, okay, this is worthwhile. It's weird because I put together my armor set. Normally when I'm putting together an armor set, I'm using help from other people, getting advice, going online. The armor set I put together, I let everyone know, and they're like, this is pretty much exactly what we're using. I'm like, and I got there myself, which shows how easy, how meta this set is. And the fact that, like, if I wanted to do a critical or a status effect based build, that build is only based on my weapon alone. That's it. I can't put status boosting gems on my armor. So I have crafted like 3 elemental weapons. They all have the same 3 gems on them. And it's like the gem for increasing the elemental damage of that weapon, which you can only get 3 levels in, which greatly increases the elemental weapon damage. Like I put a gem onto one of my weapons and it increased it by over 150 damage in that element. Wow.
So,
yeah.
And so, like, correct me, like you don't level in these, right? Like your levels are based on like your weapons and like the damage and stuff they do.
Yeah, there's no, like, you don't get stronger naturally. You get stronger based on the armor skills you get and just by getting good.
So like a weapon will have like a base just damage to it. Like 20 damage is the base, and like whatever like stuff you have to like buff that essentially is like
whatever armor skills you can have, or whatever skill gems or skill decorations you can put into all of your open slots and your armor and weapons will boost that. But it's just unfortunate now because I'm severely limited to what I can do when it comes to boosting my damage. Like, I have certain skills that only work on armor that will boost damage, but like the damage increase isn't that great. Like, I'm currently using The game is great because it added the ability to go on a hunt with 2 weapons, and you can change them on the fly. Usually it was only 1 weapon. Now you can change it on the fly. You just call your mount, and he'll pick you up, and you switch your weapon while on the mount, and you go out and fight.
That's right. That was one of the things that like I heard on a podcast. People were talking about like there's not as much. And correct me if I'm wrong, because maybe I was misunderstanding what they were saying. There's not as much like item management that you used to have to do. It's like you don't have to necessarily like pack like just what you need, because you can just have your mount like off to the side and like run back if you need a potion.
Well, I mean, there is and some people play this way. I don't, because I'm still like locked into the old school Monster Hunter. There are a lot of people that when they get hurt enough that they call their mount and they heal on their mount because the mount moves faster. Whereas I'm generally I forget to call my mount to run away to heal, and I'm just running away from the monster on my feet while healing. You still do have to pack all the items and things like that, because like it doesn't, when your mount doesn't pack your items, it gets support items for when you start a hunt, which has always been in Monster Hunter. That every time you started a hunt in any Monster Hunter, there was always a chest at your base camp that you could open up, and there were always support items. Now the game tells you every time a hunt starts, hey, there's support items in your secrets pack. Make sure to grab them. And it's always like 3 of each whatever support item there is. So that's always been a thing. But now when it comes to building armor, you have to kind of build around your primary and secondary weapon, what's good for both. And I'm doing that with my armor set, but my secondary weapon is the Insect Glaive, which is basically a bow staff that you like can like jump around on. Like if you hit a monster with the final attack of the attack while in the air, he actually bounces higher in the air, and you can do like a combo of up to 3 hits, or 3 hits with that final attack. But every time I do that, it takes away some of my stamina bar. But I'm running a skill gem that boosts my critical hit chance when my stamina is maxed. So it's like it kind of is a little like it's counter to what I use, because one of my main attacks uses the stamina bar. So, but okay. It's like I just don't have any other way to buff myself, because everything like that gives me at base it gives me a plus 20% affinity once that's activated. So so affinity is an increase. Like if you have 50% affinity, then hopefully 50% of your attacks are going to be critical hit. If you have 100% affinity, every attack should be a critical hit.
Okay.
And so I'm running this thing just to get that 20%, which should get me, based on my gear, to close to 60% when that skill is activated. But like one of my weapons uses a lot of stamina, so what's the point of having it? But then like I'm like, you know what, my play style isn't always to be in the air with this weapon, it's to be on the ground and to do all the combos on the ground, so it kind of makes sense. But like I don't have anything else. There's no real good combination of skills that will make it worth it outside of this 20% increase to my crit chance. Because everything else is, this will boost your attack by 2 or by 4. Like, I can only get 1 point into it at the moment. And so it's like, all right, like, one skill is called Agitator. And what that does is it makes you stronger when the monster is enraged. Which the monster generally has 2 states, regular and enraged. They're not always enraged when they're fighting you, but they do get enraged. Usually Agitator is a really good skill to have because it boosts your attack by a decent amount. Agitator in Monster Hunter Wilds is a +2 at level 1. It's not worth it for me to... I don't need the +2, but I could use that plus 20%.
Right.
So, like, it's just... It's very... Like, the three of the guys... The three of us that we generally play together, we all pretty much have the same armor build, and I put that together without talking to them and figuring out what they need. Everyone is using Burst, which, like I said, it's after 5 hits, you get an increase to your attack damage, and that lasts until you don't deal damage for 5 seconds. And so, like, it's a good boost to your attack. That's one of the better boosts to your attack. So it's like everyone's using the same thing. So you went from the way they wanted it, where there's no meta, to there's one meta. and that's all everyone's going to use. The armor customization is not good, because now everyone's going to be using elemental weapons with the elemental weapon boost to get that increased damage and from the element, because like a level 3 elemental weapon boost, like let me pull it up real quick to give you the numbers. Hunter Wilds Fire Boost. Come on, fire attack. Here we go. So in Wilds, if you get a level 3 in fire attack boost, that gets you plus 60 to your fire attack, plus 20%. So already with a 20% on 60 is 15. So you're getting 75 plus whatever your weapon is boosted to your damage with elemental. So I could be running, if I have a 500 elemental rating, I think the highest I've seen is 400. So if you have a 400 plus 20% of that, 20% of 400 is 100. You're adding 175 to your elemental rating, as opposed to getting a plus 9 plus 4%. And on top of that, most of my gems that give me elemental boost give me 3 levels of the elemental boost plus 1 additional skill. So I'm like, well, why wouldn't I add that onto my elemental weapon? Everyone's going to have the same meta of elemental weapon with elemental boost and burst. Like, it's a little frustrating and annoying, and I was so upset when I saw my first weapon have an attack skill on it. I was just like, this is exactly what I knew was going to happen. And that is a wasted weapon. No one's going to use that. There's
Which
no
one was
point.
it again?
I don't what the weapon or the skill?
The weapon.
I don't know. It was one of the weapons in either Gunlance or it's like, so each weapon so there's a weapon for each monster or almost each monster in each tier of the weapon trees. So for all 14 weapons, there's 40 weapons for each, give or take. And one of those weapons, like one of the trees of that weapon had attack boost on it.
Okay.
I don't know what specific weapon it was. I can't say. But I'm just like, I doubt anyone's using it. The last thing I'll say, and then we'll move on. They added what they call like a focus strike. And what it does is like it gives you an actual like aiming reticle, basically, that you can aim your attacks and you can aim at certain points. Or when you're in the middle of an attack, you can just circle around and he'll spin around and do that attack where your camera is fucking aiming. Something that should have been in Monster Hunter since day one, especially with weapons like Great Sword or Hammer or things like that are like slow attacking. You now can just move while you're mid attack and he'll turn. Your hunter will turn and hit in that area as long as you turn it in time and the attack still hits. With the Gunlance in particular, the way I attack is I strike forward, I slam down, I slam upwards. No, strike forward, slam down, slam upwards, and hit the enemy and shoot all of my bursts of my gun while swinging upwards. I poke forward and stab them with a stake that will do constant damage. I reload, I slam downwards and do a burst at that second downwards, and then do another stake. Like, I can sit there and just circle as the enemy's running around me and hit with every hit. Whereas before that was not possible because there was no aiming. It almost feels illegal to do some of this stuff. It feels almost wrong because I'm like, I've never been able to do something like this before, but it feels so perfect. And this is something that Monster Hunter has needed. Especially like in a game like Rise where I didn't like using slower weapons because the monsters were that much faster. That would have been so useful. But it's one of the best changes in the world that they've made. And like
good.
That focus mode also adds like there's a wounding ability where enemies they'll have red spots on their screen only if you're in the focus mode, or they'll have red spots on them if you're in focus mode that like tell you to focus on that spot. They have an open wound and you have to attack that wound. You do extra damage and you might stagger them and knock them down. And by breaking that wound, you also like get additional parts to drop from the monster. That wounding system works really well because there's also a focus attack that you hit, and that's the attack that you go to hit the wounds for to break those parts. And it adds a little bit of added play to it, so that if say somebody's running Hammer and there's a wound on the head of the monster, it's like, all right, give the Hammer person that wound because it deals extra damage. It does extra stunning damage, and so they might get knocked out faster. Stuff like that. It adds a little bit more strategy to it. It's really good.
Cool.
Yeah, but I had a lot of fun. It's a shame the story like kind of hurt the beginning Monster Hunter experience. But overall, I had a lot of fun. I love all the monsters. They need to mess with the frequencies of some of these monsters showing up, because my last stream yesterday, I fought the same monster like 5 times because he just kept showing up. And
That's
I'm like, well, it's like, so there are 3 types of monsters at endgame. There's regular, there's frenzied, and then there's tempered. Frenzieds are weaker, but they can hit harder. And then tempereds are the same, can hit really hard and have the same health pool. And if you want to get like some of the best gear for endgame, you want to fight the tempered apex monsters, which are like the big bosses of each region. And there's one apex monster, which is Arkveld, that will go to every region. And I fought him 3 times because every time I saw a tempered Arkveld, he was in a different region, and the tempered apex for any other region weren't up. I'm like, well, this sucks. That's what I got to do.
Yeah, like that does sound like a bummer though.
Yeah, it was. I wanted to fight something else, and I couldn't and I could have if I checked my investigations. I could have ran something else, but I was just like, I want to see more to pop up. But yeah,
You just have to play for 50 more hours.
I mean, I am Hunter rank 77, so I am 23 away from Hunter rank 100, which is one of the achievements. And I have where am I at? Where's my achievement? I have 31 out of 50 completed. There are 2 hidden achievements, which I looked up and I can't remember what they were now, that I have to do. But I think they're all just based on playing the game. And one of the most annoying achievements is fishing 30 big fish. And I'm just like, this is dumb.
Fishing in games is never a good time either.
I mean, I would disagree. There are games that have some good fishing mechanics in them. But like a game like Monster Hunter, I don't want to spend time just fishing. And especially the fishing mechanic so there's 2 different mechanics. There's the general mechanic of fishing where you just throw out your line and you reel it in. Or if you throw out your line and a larger fish catches it, you then have to fight the fish and reel it in differently. And instead of just hitting the button to reel it in, you actually have to like fight the fish and angle with the fish. And it's like, I got to do that 50 times. I've done it once in 30. I've encountered like 4 big fish and I've only reeled in 1. I'm like, this is gonna suck. Yeah,
it sounds like a bad time.
Yeah,
but shall we move on?
Yeah, Cobb, tell us about your Horus Rising.
So, do you know what this is?
No.
It is Warhammer related.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I thought it'd be interesting to talk about because you're like on the outskirts of getting involved in the game.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm just playing kill teams with a friend. That's really all.
No, that's why I said you're on the outskirts. Like you're not. Yeah. You don't have a full army of your own, but like
I don't have a single army of my own.
Yet.
Yeah. No, at all. I'm probably never going to, because like the rules to be able to use them at like a Warhammer store or whatnot, the fact that you have to paint them, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to pay someone. Like my buddy says he's going to be happy to buy all of the army, all of the teams, and just to have somebody play with them. I'm like, all right, as long as you don't care, I'll play with this all anytime you want.
Yeah,
as long
and
as
that's
you
the
know
thing.
that
Like,
I'm going to use your.
You don't have to play at the store.
You don't have to, but if you're going to get the miniatures, you're going to want to get them painted. Like I have so many miniatures that I want to get painted that I'm just not going to paint myself because I don't have a steady hand and I just don't find painting miniatures like fun.
Have you done it?
No, but I've never really found painting fun.
I mean that is fair. That is fair.
I have a love-hate relationship with Lego. That like if a pieces don't like are too small, I can't do it. So like sad. It's just I have bad motor control with my hands and big and stocky hands. I just
have you considered getting new hands?
I've thought about it. Thought about going to the devil up in North Jersey and making a deal with him to get his hands. But I haven't done it yet.
Yeah, understandable. It takes a lot to get to North Jersey.
I just don't know if I want robot hands. That's really all it is.
Can't be worse than the ones you have.
I mean, They'd be cold and clampy.
But you'd be able to do fine motor skills.
But they'd be clampy, though. They're just clamps. So, like, would they really be fine motor skills?
If they're the devils, yeah.
Actually, no, they weren't clamps. They were actual fingers. But
they had fingers.
They had fingers. You're right.
Because he was playing that instrument with them.
Yeah, the holophone.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah. Why I know this much about that episode, no, I can't tell
you. I knew what you were talking about, at least.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Horus is one. How much of the Warhammer lore did you find out about? Any?
I bought a book and I haven't even read it yet. So
like a narrative book or like a rule book?
A narrative book, like an actual like novel.
Which one?
That I just it was or is Assassinorium or something like that.
Okay, not sure what that one is.
Hold on, it's right here. It was under stuff. Assassinorum Kingmaker is the book I have. It's a Warhammer 40k book, so it's not a 30k, so it is modern time. And it looked more sci-fi than anything. Like it's Warhammer, so it's all going to be sci-fi, but like the cover and everything looked a little bit more sci-fi, and so I was interested.
Yeah, sorry. What could you say that title one more time?
Assassinorium or Assassinorum Kingmaker.
Oh, weird. It's not showing up on Wikipedia.
I'll find it.
I'm just looking at the list of all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Oh well, not super important. But so Horus is a character from that lore. He is. So this book takes place in the 31st century,
not the 30. So it's 30k.
Yeah, or 31k. Like,
well, it's 30. The 30th 30,000. It's the 30th thousands.
I thought we were one in front of it. Like, because
we're
it's the 2000 now, but we're 20.
Well, we're we're 40k. So it depends on the year, because like 30k is 10,000 years before 40k, because 30,000, 40,000.
Okay,
and,
yeah,
like,
that's probably correct.
There are books out there that are 30k that take place that like, affect books that are in 40k. It's
because some of these people live for 10,000 years. So this one is one of like the 30k books, and takes place in that time period where the people from Earth are basically like traveling throughout space again, conquering places to make them home to like humans again, basically. Like bring in all the ancestors and remnants of the human race from Earth back under like one imperial umbrella.
Stop, I'm losing you.
You're losing me?
Yeah, you're turning all robot-y and you're cutting in and out.
Oh dear. I wonder why.
I don't know. You're sounding good now.
Okay. So yeah. So this is 30k. It's technically about the Horus Heresy, which is the character Horus betraying the Emperor of mankind and basically splitting the faction of like the Space Marines in half, and like half of them become traitors and fight with Horus. The other half stay loyal to the Emperor, and it like impacts things in like the 40k side of things, from what I've gathered.
Is this the start of the plague? That might be the start of the Plague Marines.
It could be, but so kind of like a little bit of the background to it. Horus is the first War Master. He is also the supposedly first Primarch, there are 20 of them. They're basically like, so you probably actually know more of this because you've actually like played the game and like talked to your friend a little bit. And I think you actually went to the Warhammer store, right?
Oh no, the Plague Marines are Nurgle.
So Horus is the Primarch of the Space Wolves, like that faction of the Space Marines. So the Primarchs are like the progenitors of each of like the factions of Space Marines. Like, you know how there's like 20 different like factions of them?
Yeah.
So the Primarchs are like the originals of those that were all scattered across the cosmos for some reason. And as they became adults, they found their way back to the Emperor, and he named them Primarch, and they basically became the leader of whatever segment of the Space Marines that they were like bred for. And all of the Space Marines in their segments were based off of their DNA. So there's like a weird like familial link there. But the way the lore writes it is Horus was the first one to return to the Emperor and was like his favorite son. And so he became like the War Master, which was essentially like he was Gaara during the war in Naruto. Like all the Kage were there, but like Gaara became the leader of the Allied Shinobi army.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, that's it. So yeah, he is the Black Templars is what he is the god of.
Horus?
I think so.
No, like I said, he was the Space Wolves.
Well, I think they're
the
now
Lunar
known
Wolves.
I think they're now known as the Black Templars. I don't know. Keep going.
The Lunar Wolves still exist. Second founding, 31st millennium.
Oh no, their Primarch Rogol
is
Dorn.
Rogol Dorn.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said,
there's so much. There's so much.
The Lunar Wolves are the ones that Horus was the Primarch of.
Mm-hmm.
And they still exist. They're just he is no longer the Primarch because the like half of the Primarchs that like betrayed the Emperor, I think most of them are dead. From what I was seeing, like when I was just like reading a little bit of backstory, pretty much all of them are dead at this point. Some of them are just missing in like space and time. But so this book is during one of the crusades that they go on throughout the cosmos, like I said, like finding different human worlds, like worlds that started from Earth and spread out and basically conquering them when they have to, but like also like at least giving like a little bit of a chance at like just diplomatic efforts. And so like the book opens up where you don't see Horus for like the first like 5 chapters. He's mentioned a whole bunch, but he is not in the book at all for a while. You follow some like other, not Primarchs, but like captains and lieutenants of the different Space Marine groups that are all under Horus's like war mastership. So you just kind of get these like little like stories about him and like people like kind of like talking about him in like hush whispers because like he's the guy. And as the book kind of like carries on, the first like most of the first half, maybe 3/4 of the book, they're on one world, and this one world had somebody else claiming to be the Emperor of mankind, and he killed actually one of the Primarchs who inferred that there was another Emperor. So that just kind of like set them to war immediately. And like the Space Marines just obliterated this guy and like all of his army. But it sent like a bunch of their people kind of like started like going a little crazy because there was some weird shit going on this planet. And one guy actually even he went crazy, murdered a bunch of like squad mates, got shot down, and then like came back to life and turned into a giant monster. Like very video gamey. Like it was very much like a video game boss. But the whole thing was like slowly sowing the seeds that like the chaos stuff that they deal with, like because they're basically like apparently when they're traveling through space, they're like ripping a hole into hell or something like that to like get from like location to location.
Yeah, magic is weird in Warhammer. Let me tell you. Yeah,
and so like that magic so all the Space Marines are under the impression that like they are not susceptible to this magic. That magic is like a totally separate group and like they're susceptible to it, but they're not there, so it's not a problem. And it turns out that they absolutely are susceptible to it. And so throughout this book, it's like a lot of them like it's more like almost like political intrigue mixed in with like the warring, which I thought like was unexpected. So I honestly thought it was just going to be like a big like space opera with like just tons of battles, but there actually weren't that many like fights. And the first like 6 or 7 chapters like jumped between a bunch of different like POVs, including people that like weren't like soldiers at all. They were rememberers or remembrancers, something like that. Like basically like people with different like art abilities, like poets and painters and novelists and historians and like people that are about creating things, not destroying them. Coming to this world to see what was becoming of it as they were like remaking it in the image of like their Emperor of mankind, and to like immortalize it in their scriptures and things like that. And then it sort of it continues on from there to another planet, and once again like all hell breaks loose. But we find out more that there are like little secret organizations, kind of like where for the most part it seems like all the different like Space Marine legions are kind of like they don't like intermix all that much. Like the Black Templars stick together, the Lunar Wolves stick together. They're kind of like all segmented like that, like Hufflepuff and Ravenclaw.
Yeah. Sometimes they're at war with each other too. Sometimes.
Yeah, and then they basically have like a little like skeleton group where it's like people from all the different legions that like meet and like talk to each other as equals, regardless of like their rank and stature and all that. And yeah, like there was just a lot of interesting kind of lore going on in the background.
Mm-hmm.
And like unfortunately, the book itself didn't have like because it's the first of like 12 books about the Horus Heresy. It didn't have like it didn't get in deep to anything, so it really was like the introduction of the characters and kind of what was going on. But I thought it was really interesting because even at the very end, you have the one character that you're kind of following for most of it, Loken. He was a captain. I want to say he was like the first captain for the Lunar Wolves, or like something in that general vicinity. And he was like he got attacked by like the people that they were trying to like make peace with, and rather than like just kill everybody, like he actually just he incapacitated the guy that was attacking him, and then like the other two people in the room, he's like, instead of me killing you, help your guy. I'd rather him not die because of a dumb mistake. And it was kind of like counter to what I expected, because my interpretation with Warhammer was just like, oh, it's war and these things just all kill each other all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was definitely interesting. Not super long either. I don't know how long the book you got was, but it seems like most of these books are like pretty average length, like 400 or less pages.
Yeah, a couple hundred pages. Let's see. I haven't even looked. Got to the about the author section. 450. 450, and it's like it's pretty well spaced and pretty. It's not like small worded or anything like that. So like it's definitely like eventually when I find time to frickin' read, and there's 30 something chapters, so like it's gonna be well spaced out as well while reading it. 30 chapters at 400 pages. It's actually
that book is actually really new, 2022.
Mm-hmm. 38 chapters over 440 pages. So it's gonna be. It's like it's not gonna feel long either, because when I sit down to read it, it's not gonna feel like I'm not getting anywhere.
Yeah, like it should move pretty quickly.
Yeah, I'm hoping like now that Monster Hunter's done, now that like I've been able to figure out a way to catch up on most of my content creation. I'm still backed up on my vlogs, but I've caught up mostly on everything else when it comes to recording videos, that I'll be able to actually like have time to sit down and read a book in the next month or so, and be able to figure that out. Like if everything goes well this weekend, I'll be caught up like 2 weeks out, and be next weekend, which don't believe I have any plans next weekend. I'll be able to like potentially spend a whole day just reading if I want to, or watching TV or something. Maybe I'll binge all of Cobra. Oh no, we got game night next weekend, but still, or game day next weekend, and
you can still watch a whole lot of Cobra Kai. Yeah,
and no, because Jersey Calling's playing in Maple Shade on Friday next week.
Oh, is that next week?
I believe it's the 14th.
Is it Maple Shade or?
It's somewhere with an M.
That's on that's on the 21st.
Oh, is it the 21st? Okay.
Yeah, it's the 21st in Mount Holly.
Okay. I knew it was an M somewhere. I knew it was in Maple Shade or Mountain. Those are generally the same area, though, too.
They're close enough, yeah.
Well, oh no, I worked in Mount Laurel, which is next to the Morristown Mall, which is also that Smash Burger that's next to the Morristown Mall is Maple Shade. So.
That's true.
They're all like Mount Holly, Mount Laurel, Maple Shade, Morristown. They're all like really close to each other.
Yeah, like Mount Holly's a little further north, but yeah, like it's generally in that same vicinity.
Yeah.
But I think that'll probably do it for today.
I think so. Yeah, it's that's a show. We went a while. There was something I was gonna say about Warhammer while you were talking. I thought about it, but I can't remember what it was now.
Well, maybe you'll think about it next week.
I won't.
No, you won't.
I won't. But yeah, Warhammer's got a ton of lore. I want to play Space Marine.
It really does have just a ton. And you know what? so do we. So if you would like to find more of our content, you can head over to www.one-quest.com. You can also help us out by supporting us at patreon.com/onequest. If you can't support us there with your dollars, though, you can go to your favorite podcast platform, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify. Rate us, review us, subscribe to us. All of it helps. We are also on social media, facebook.com/onequestonline or at @1_quest on Instagram and Twitter. We have a Blue Sky, search for OneQuest. I don't think we've ever posted there. I know I haven't, and I don't think anybody else has the logins. So we've never posted there.
So we've never posted.
It's there. I would get an email if somebody posted at us. I'm pretty sure. And yeah, our YouTube channel, youtube.com/onequestvideo. And you can always send us an email to social@one-quest.com. Rich, what is your streaming looking like?
Twitch.tv/b_walnuts for video game streaming Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. It is going to be a lot of Monster Hunter. Yeah, Monster Hunter Sea of Thieves. I am trying to figure out what my weekly game is going to be because I'm planning on Monster Hunter twice a week and one other game once a week for the next, probably after next week. But I haven't decided yet what my week. It might be Avowed. It might be I might take a return to Metroidvanias. I don't know. I don't know what it's gonna be. So come hang out and maybe try to help me figure out what my next game should be.
Nice.
Like it's going to be the weekly every Monday game that I'll be playing. Probably Monday is what I'm leaning. Monday or Tuesday. Probably Tuesday. I don't know. I'll figure it out. But yeah, just come check. Look, Tuesdays are like my slowest day, so I kind of want to try to find a different way to bring people. So I don't know what I'm going to do yet.
You'll figure something out.
Yeah, come hang out.
But with that, we will be back next week with something else to talk about. Thanks for listening. Bye.
See yas.